Hi, and welcome to this introduction to the Devon Global Sustainability Fund. I'm Greg Smith, Head of Retail here at Devon. Now, the Devon Global Sustainability Fund invests in the Wellington Global Stewards Fund, which is managed by Wellington Management. And we're so fortunate to have today our portfolio manager, Connor McCarthy, with us. Hi there, Connor.
Hi, how are you, Greg? And everyone?
I'm great, thanks. Great that you could make it.
Glad to be here.
So look, just before we get started, Colin, just looking at the fund itself, perhaps you could give a little bit of detail as to who Wellington Management are and your role there.
Yeah, great. So, and thank you again, Greg. I'm Connor McCarthy. I've actually been working for Wellington. I'll give you a little intro on me first. 18 years, unbelievably rapid 18 years. And I work closely with our investment team as our investment strategist. So I'm working with the team, understanding what they're doing in their analysis and selection of companies for the portfolio, and then also helping our clients understand what it is that we're doing in the portfolio. But Wellington, you asked about that, Greg. Wellington, the firm, and I think we do have a slide that will help in that regard, kind of gives you the big picture of who we are. We are a private partnership, and that really helps us to sort of control our destiny, as what we do is really invest for the long term on behalf of our clients. And those clients are worldwide in over 60 countries. We are responsible for the management of 1.4 trillion US of their assets. So these are very sizable relationships, and we've been doing that for over 80 years. So we as a firm are not new to investment markets, and it's that long-termism that's been part of our DNA for a long time. And one other aspect that's part of that DNA is really a focus on research. So we have one business, which is to find great investments for our clients and put them in their portfolio. And that requires a lot of research that's proprietary. That's what Wellington does. It is our lifeblood. And that implementation of ideas, is really the embodiment of all of the research that we're doing. We have over 900 professionals involved in research and the activities of investing at the firm, cutting across the world. And I think that's really the key reputational element that has allowed us to, succeed along with our clients over the long history of Wellington.
It's fantastic, and certainly an impressive name, and serving clients for over 85 years, I think it is. So look, when searching for options to bring to the New Zealand market, and we're very excited about this offering with the Devon Global Sustainability Fund, we were just so impressed by the deep history of ESG and sustainability within Wellington. So perhaps we could just spend a bit of time on that point, Connor, and bring this to life and provide a little bit more colour to that.
Sure. Yeah, Global Stewards, which is the fund that I'll have the honor of introducing to everyone here today, is really just sort of the embodiment of a lot of things that have been going on at Wellington for many, many years. In fact, since I won't stretch us back to the 70s, but I'll go, really into the 80s, since I actually remember the 80s. But through our Future Themes initiative, which is an activity that is internal at Wellington and really essentially a brainstorming exercise amongst our investment professionals, even as far back as then, the whole discussion of sustainability and what stewardship means and why it matters was debated, and actually was the first catalyst for a lot of the work that we did in creating our capabilities in this area. So we're not newcomers to the area. I'm very proud that we aren't. It's really been that effort that is built through time. We now have 35 dedicated sustainability professionals at Wellington. So amongst that 900 plus professionals that I mentioned earlier, a significant effort in terms of engaging with companies, the executives, and really, taking, the whole matter of ESG, sustainability quite seriously.
Yeah, and that's, as I said, it's certainly something that really impressed us, really stood out. I mean, a lot of managers out there say they're embracing ESG, and yeah, Wellington's certainly walking the talk, as it were. So perhaps now, Connie, you could give us a brief overview of the Global Stewards Fund, and just a reminder, this is what the Devon Global Sustainability Fund invests into, and yeah, a bit of background and a bit of a deep dive on the fund.
Yeah, great. You know, it's actually very straightforward in terms of attempting to achieve. We focus on finding stocks anywhere in the world, and we're really looking for 35 to 45 of the best, long-term investments that we can possibly identify. We just have a tremendous amount of research horsepower, and that allows us to really, sift through the many possibilities to find those. I mentioned we're long-term. That's really important because, we want to find great investments and be able to hold them and have our clients enjoy the compounding benefits of that over time. And, we're very differentiated relative to the standard global indices. Think about it as someone who invests, we call it high active share in the industry, but essentially it's how different is your portfolio relative to a standard benchmark. And of course, skilled stock selection that is different than the benchmark is what our clients are looking for. They don't want something that's hugging the benchmark. And Global Stewards is, certainly very much squarely, high active share. We're investing in quality companies, and that means companies that have very solid returns on invested capital. So when they're investing in their businesses, they're getting a great return on that. That's profitability, and we expect that will grow and that will sustain itself over time. And that's no easy task. There aren't many companies in this world that can achieve that, and it takes a lot of hands-on research to identify them and also work with them, track them to make sure that they're executing. That's what our team with Global Stewards is all about. And it's, a big part of the ability to do that has been for a long time in our view, and is increasingly recognized as the ability to think about and monitor matters of ESG. Just the treatment of shareholders, of course, but also the employees and other stakeholders, the community that these businesses operate within and so forth. That is a big part of allowing for that sustainability of success through time. And that's what Global Strategies really is representing.
Oh, fantastic. So look, I know you evaluate each stock from the perspective of what you describe as the 3 Ps: people, planet, and profit. I just wonder if you could elaborate on that concept, please.
Yeah, sure. First, I'll mention, and it's really important because, I've said we focus on ESG, and I guess that's all fine and good, but what do other people think? And, in March of last year, the EU created the Sustainable Finance Disclosure Regulation, SFDR, and that came into force, and it's really designed to help investors, sort of discern between what is truly or most closely related to the goals that investors have when they invest their capital in ESG funds. I'm very really happy we were rated 9, so Article 9, we meet that standard, and that is dark green, and we have a net zero emissions objective as part of what this strategy is going about. And that's by 2050, getting to that goal. About a third of our portfolio's holdings really are getting there and are committed to that net zero ambition already, and others are moving toward it. So there's a large movement, and as a shareholder and a allocator of capital, you can help move those businesses toward those goals, and that's part of what we're doing with this. But and that does relate to, our tenets of people, planet, and profit. We're looking for companies that are managed well, all right? And that's part of what we're thinking about when we say stewardship. And we're looking at that through the lens of those three elements: people, planet, and profit. The people part is, we're looking for businesses that through, their sensible management of their relationships have lower client turnover. They have lower, personnel turnover. They have good cultures. They're leveraging diversity. They're really acting in a way that gives them that better chance of being a sustainable, successful business. On planet, it is very similar. I mean, it's companies that are building businesses that are really not doing harm, are actually helping themselves in terms of their resilience and their ability to continue succeeding through time. And then finally, the profits, are the bottom line. Can you do all of that? And in fact, can you benefit through doing all that in a way that falls to the bottom line? And that's what our businesses are really targeting. And that's what we look for in companies. And it's not just sort of reading about them, it's engaging with those managements, engaging with those boards of those companies to make sure that they're squarely directed in the areas that allow for that success in our view going forward. Unfortunately, because of the trust that so many clients have put in us, 1.4 trillion US in their assets, we have tremendous access to most any company in this large ecosystem around the world, and that's what our team is doing every day.
And that's fantastic. Now, Connor, you mentioned stewardship. Many people, I suppose, will know about governance, but can you explain what you mean by that and why it's so important?
Yeah, I mean, it's think of it as a virtuous cycle. In fact, we call it our stewardship flywheel, and it is essentially a description of how companies that are managed, high quality businesses that sustain that profitability profile over time are really a function of doing the right things, the smart things over time. And that includes, all the things I mentioned in terms of caring about the shareholder, caring about the customer, the employees, and the communities. And doing that in an effective way does really, in our view, separate some businesses from others and make them unique investments that can be held over the long run. But as I mentioned, to really, as an investor, be sure that that is happening and that it is something that is continuing on in the business long term, you have to be there and working with those companies to understand how they're.
That's it's a fantastic concept, and I really love the diagrammatic. Actually, it really explains it incredibly well. Just moving on, what's the wisdom? Another concept here, but behind investing for the long term, but in a way that's very different from the global indices. You could perhaps elaborate on that, Connor.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think it just sounds common sense. I hope it sounds common sense because I feel like it should be. If you can find great investments, why would you be buying and selling them? You would be able to hold them for the long run. Sounds easy, difficult, and it does take a level of intense research that we bring to bear. But if you look at capital markets and just the general activity of trading in markets over the course of really the last 10 years, it's quite remarkable. I mean, the average holding period used to be about 3 years for a company stock, and now it's fallen to 6-12 months, something in that area. So are people investing or are they trading? Not that one can't make money doing one or the other, but we feel our skills and most professional skills lie in the area of investing. So long-termism makes sense because there's a lot of noise created by all that sort of, I think, usually informationless trading that's going on. So that's key, and that's part of what underpins the thinking of our investment team. Another differentiator is the point I made, which is being different than the benchmark. And in fact, there are studies that have been done. I think we can show you one of them that really looked at, and these are academic studies, looked at portfolios, professionally managed portfolios that were low turnover and had high active share. That is that difference from benchmark versus those that had varying degrees of lesser distinction in those regards. And the returns cumulatively over time during their measurement period, which was substantial, was notable. And you can see it in the chart. If you look to the line that's creeping upward over time, that's that group of high active share, long-term holding period investments. And to us, it's sort of a comforting thing to see. It's how we feel anyway, and it makes sense to us that it would turn out that way.
Excellent. Thanks for that explanation, Connor. Just a final point, I suppose, and like we sort of ending where we started in terms of Wellington's incredible resources. You've explained that really well. So I suppose bottom line, what is Wellington's edge in identifying these investments?
Yeah, it is really a lot of the things I've alluded to. So it is not one thing, but ultimately does center on research and access and being able to have professionals at our firm, given the stability of our firm and long-termism and private structure, we're able to hire really very talented people and retain them. And that's so critical because they accrue, their knowledge base grows, and that will really find its way into portfolios over time. And our two portfolio managers for Global Stewards are, just the example of that. Mark Mandel, who's been with the firm now 29, 30 years, and Jolanda Cortines, who's also been with the firm and in the industry for many years. They themselves were research analysts, and at Wellington, that's a high distinction in its own right. On average, our global industry analysts, for example, have 19 years of average experience as career analysts. So a very, very deep stable of high, sort of content, sort of high experience in their specific coverage areas. So as portfolio managers, they've really brought that knowledge and also their connectivity to our wider research organization into this portfolio in the manner that I've just described. So I think that at the end of the day, it's about people. It's about having, really a lot of experience in markets, meeting a lot of companies. We as a firm do about 15,000 company visits per year. So it's a tremendous, net of activity. Very few firms could possibly come close to that if they do it all. And we do it with a tremendous amount of experience. So I think if I were to assign the edge, it would be there, along with the other points that I hopefully was clearly noting to you along the way.
Oh, you're very, very much doing that. So, and certainly no denying the amount of experience, just so deep, and of course the resources as well. And look, that's why we're so excited to be working with you, working with Wellington Management. As I said, you completely stood out on a host of levels. So this is very exciting for us. Look, I thank you for your time, Connor. I really appreciate that. It's so great to connect. And those of you watching this webinar, I hope you now have a lot better idea about the Devon Global Sustainability Fund. If you want more information, do go to our website, devonfunds.co.nz. Or if you want to get in contact personally, you can reach me on my email as well, gsmith@devonfunds.co.nz. But in the meantime, we'll leave it there. And thanks once again, Connor. Have a great rest of the day, and we'll be catching you soon.
Okay, great. Thanks, Craig, and thank you, everyone.